Welcome everybody to the Cast from the Coast. My name is Adam Oz and I'm joined as always by Josh Lambert, Aaron Peerless, and Tim Johnson. Tim, what is it that we are speaking about tonight?
Well, Adam, because we are talking like this, we are going to talk about the 1981 classic that I've never seen before, The Burning.
Nobody's seen it.
Stay tuned. Tim, does it burn when you pee? No.
You said you wouldn't say anything.
All right, then tell us what it's all about.
Inappropriate.
What, the burning pee? Oh, the synopsis. Oh, okay. All right. Let me get into this. Okay. A former summer camp caretaker, horribly burned by a prank gone wrong, lurks around upstate New York's summer camp, bent on killing teenagers responsible for his disfigurement. I feel like I've heard this plot before.
You think?
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there we go. Let's talk about that for a second. A movie so.
Were you being serious there?
I don't
being
know
sarcastic?
anymore.
Because this movie, I'm just gonna get it like it was kind of a discount Friday the 13th.
Yeah. A lot of people say that.
Yeah. It was.
Interestingly enough,
Didn't
I'm not
see
gonna
it.
I'm not gonna get into
You-
trivia time with Tim, but I'm gonna be
You
interested.
see the disgruntled guy walking around all disfigured, killing kids at a summer
Yeah.
camp. You
Must
didn't
have
pick
missed
up that parallel.
Didn't grab that juxtaposition.
No.
It had
All
its
right, I guess
differences.
it's just me. I guess it's just me.
There's some interesting things about this that I can't wait for trivia time with Tim to see if he picks up or tells about this. So that'll be interesting.
It wasn't actually at the camp anyway, Tim. They went on a canoe trip away from the camp.
And then they rafted
Yeah,
back.
complete-
Splitting hairs, Aaron. You're splitting hairs. You're splitting
Hey,
hairs.
I got shit tons of split ends here. I don't need to even go.
I don't know, but I can't wait to
You should
talk about the rafting
care of
scene
that.
because that was my favorite scene, to be honest. So let's go with it. It's pretty good.
That was pretty good.
Okay, so on a story level, this movie takes the urban legend and story of Cropsey and brought it to the big screen, as it were. So, for those who aren't really familiar, some of you might be. There was even a documentary a few years ago that talked about the urban legend and myth of the Cropsey character themselves. Cropsey is the name given to somebody in urban legend or myth or lore where that person is like responsible for like abducting kids and murdering people and shit like this. But it's like a monster under your bed type story about somebody who lives in a dilapidated cabin or shed and once again lures kids away from their families and murders them and shit. So the idea that was that
shit.
and
Just how you
shit
said it, lures them away from the cabin and
That's right.
murders them.
and
shit.
moitas them and shit. They got to say it like I'm from, the U.S. So the idea that this movie starts off and the kids are referring to this guy as Cropsey, and he's actually tagged as Cropsey in the credits of the movie too. I mean, obviously the guy's got a name, but he's never given the actual name in the movie. It's just Cropsy. And yeah, we have a shitstorm of a scenario at the very beginning where the kids decide to play a prank on him. And a very interesting prank where they basically have a fake.
What kind of
It's a
fucking
weird
is
prank,
this? Like,
man.
I've done some pranks in my life, and I've never once said, "Let's get a fucking disgusting human skull infested with worms,
And the
light it
little
on
birthday
fire,
candles. The little birthday candles was
with
my
birthday
favorite little
candles
touch.
in the eye holes,
Yeah.
and wake up a man and scare him with it." Ooh.
Apparently, these idiots at the summer camp, because
Oh, sounds kind of fun to me.
Aaron's like, not saying I've done it, not saying I haven't done it, but happy birthday to me.
And I thank you not to judge.
These kids never heard of putting his hand in a warm ball of water or what? Like, holy mercy!
That's been overdone.
Yeah, and then he wouldn't have burned to death because there would have been water. So, or burned up, and he didn't burn to death. What am I saying? But he wouldn't have burned up because there would have been water there. But it was a very interesting flailing effect that he had when he wakes up and he sees the birthday cake skull and decides to slap it, and it ends up like falling on him, and he starts to.
Right, so it's his fault, see?
We didn't realize he'd be that scared. What a dumbass. And it just so happens that he sleeps next to cans of like gasoline and high accelerants of all different types. And
Hey, he lives in like a utility shed full of tools and gasoline, obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously.
And shit.
And shit.
Yep. So we get the fact that he basically burns up in a blaze of glory and ends up hospitalized for 5 years. And when he gets released, he's dead set on murdering some assholes.
Just some people. He's just angry
He
with
is.
life.
So what's interesting is that it basically states that he wants to murder, the people who are responsible for this. How the fuck did he know that they'd be at that summer camp again 5 years later? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean,
I say convenient fucking script writing.
Convenient script writing. Okay, fair enough.
Convenient plot
he
devices.
He wasn't out to find them. He was just going back to work. He's like, "Oh, I've been off for 5 years.
I was gonna say these hedges need to be
The
trimmed.
brush is probably getting outrageous."
I gotta go fix the shack up. I haven't been there 5 years.
Not my fault, officers, that the kids were in the way while I was trimming the hedges. Little bitches. Yeah. Okay. So the movie basically has a very interesting cast of stars. Let's
Did you guys feel that this was like the origin story to George Costanza? Like this was the summer of George? Because that's absolutely the whole time I was like, this is why he's
I was
so
expecting
fucked
one
up.
of the kids to be like, "Hey, I'm Jerry." I'd be like, "Hey, Jerry."
Yeah. Seinfeld origin story? Yeah.
Oh man. So this movie definitely it had Mr. Alexander in it. Wow, Jason Alexander, obviously, as we said, from Seinfeld and stuff. But you know what's even funnier? He doesn't look like he was that young. I was watching it going like he's supposed to be a teenager. He looks like he's in his like fucking 30s in this movie.
Yeah, no, I agree, but I also feel that he's got one of those like faces that he looks like an old man. You know what I mean?
At least he had hair.
At least he had hair. This
Somewhat.
Why? What's wrong with not having any?
Oh.
Aaron?
Why do you think I wear a hat all the time? You can question me all you want, but I'm a little thin upstairs there as well.
feels good to be able to
Right.
choose if I want to be
Checks
bald or
out.
not. Just saying.
I think you're a beautiful bald man.
Thank you.
Well,
Yes. So aside from Jason Alexander,
Remember there, Josh?
Nothing. Just progress.
oh man. So you bring up the fact that obviously there's a oh man, you bring up the fact that this is like a dollar store version. Is that kind of the way that you're going with this version of Friday the 13th?
It's a classic 80s camp horror.
No, to be absolutely honest, I feel like I was just having a bad night when I watched it. This movie is really good, and it's one of those movies that, like, it checks all the boxes of what I like in horror. It's a cheesy 80s slasher movie, but you look at the time when it came out, 81, like, yeah, it absolutely is trying to recreate the Friday the 13th style of movie. But I mean, the fact that they went there with Cropsy was very unexpected, because that documentary we were talking about, I watched that documentary.
Yeah,
It's pretty good.
yeah, it's definitely a good documentary. I mean, I had heard the stories of Cropsy before, and I remember the Burning having like the Cropsy character. So when that documentary came out, I was intrigued to kind of learn more about the history of the lore and stuff, and it kind of plays well. You know what I mean? Like learning about it and shit. Another character that's in this movie, Michelle, played by Leah Ayres. More famously from one of my favorite 80s action movies, Bloodsport. She was the reporter that ends up betting Jean-Claude Van Damme, let's say. So, okay.
Cool.
All right, well, there's that. So, But the interesting thing is that this movie's just got a smattering of like 80s and 90s people in it, even down to Brian Backer, who played Alfred. He was in like the Police Academy movies. He's just a real goofy fucking guy in this movie. It's kind of funny. All right, so storyline wise, obviously Cropsy comes back to the camp. He's starting to attack kids. Pacing was weird though. It did take a while for things to kind of kick in. Whereas, like, when you look at something that people will definitely compare this to, like Friday the 13th Part 1, the murders pretty much kick off right away. There might be a little bit more time in between the murders, but it's paced murder, story. Whereas the Burning just kind of like the burning at the beginning, and then it's like takes forever for him to start getting his fucking revenge at this point.
My biggest gripe with the guy is he's just like slashing people with shears. Like I felt it was very underwhelming. He didn't like cram it in someone's eye holes and crank her open, or like it looked like he was just like hitting people with them.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't really a supernatural being by any means. He was just supposed to be a guy that was hitting people with shit.
Yeah, so if that's the case, just get a gun, man.
Just get a gun. This is America. I can get a gun.
You're just gonna go around whacking people with shears.
Some of the shears deaths were good though. I will say right off the frickin' bat. But then again, we also got to be obvious that he didn't kill everybody with the garden shears, but in a very oddly similar fashion, sewing shears. He killed the hooker at the beginning with. So shears nonetheless. It was just big fucking scissor shears. And then he goes to like, oh yeah, I got these shears at the camp I'm just going to use instead. Bigger, better, right? So the story revolves obviously around the fact that the senior campers usually have like a getaway from the camp, and they're being taken out by with the senior counselors, and they're kind of going off on their little canoe adventure. And during the night, Cropsy gets rid of the canoes, and they're stuck on their little remote area while he's hunting them down.
What does he do?
Shit like that.
Gets rid of Karen. He gets rid of Karen.
He gets rid of Karen. Yes, he does. Anything anybody wants to add about the storyline here? Because pretty much at that point, it's just a fight for life, and Cropsy killing off people in quantity.
I like the camp. I thought the camp was cool.
Yeah,
the way they shot it and stuff.
Yeah.
I thought it was like reminiscent of Friday the 13th, but at the same time, I think it had its own feel.
I had a feeling of like the sleepaway camp.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say I got a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
sleepaway camp from this. Even like the super sexualized fucking softball game.
The super sexualized
Oh.
softball game.
With no brassiers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
kinda
I'm not gonna
weird,
lie. Like,
Okay. All right, Josh, I'd really like to hear what you have to say about this movie. Josh's notes.
Viewing of The Burning took place March 21st, 2021 at 10:48 p. The Burning. Okay. Open up to Camp Blackfoot, so I immediately again thought this is going to be a classic camp horror movie, back to basics, some sort of hacksaw murderer, whatever. What the fuck? Their prank is to burn this guy alive. These are horrible children.
Yeah, I can really picture that. They're praying. Oh, we got him! He's dying! We got him! Oh, look at him in the water!
The dialogue in this movie is straight up comical. There's some real gems. Like this one, quote, "This guy's so burned, he's cooked. A Big Mac. Overdone."
Shit.
Okay. At this point, I realized the legend himself, Tom Savini, operated on this. So I was buckling in for some great effects. And then I noticed it was produced by Harvey Weinstein. So, you know, if it's not good, it's safe to bet at least some horrifying things occurred behind the set.
And that is The Burning.
Quote, "Try not to resent those kids." Yeah, no, fuck that noise.
Yeah, the nurse.
Alive.
Try not to resent the kids.
Yeah, and it's like droning over his face, over his like audio when he's like leaving the hospital, and they're all like, "Yeah, just live your life. Try not to worry about him." It's like, cool. The poor guy's schmeckle probably got burned right off, and he's out here looking for this prostitute. Why did he kill the lady of the evening? Like, he's gone full on bonkers. Like, it's not even a revenge tale. He's just crazy and wants to kill people. Over-sexualized teens playing baseball. Anyone else thinking about Sleepaway Camp? Is that fucking Costanza? It was.
yes, it was.
Did anyone else notice that the like forest sounds, Foley, the audio was just on like a 3-second loop?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was just like birds, and they're like chirp, 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 chirp. And it's like 3 seconds later, it's the same bird.
Chirp, 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 chirp.
chirp.
Yep.
And it just kept going and going and going.
Yeah, I'm
like,
cluing
oh
into
my
that now. I don't think I clued into
man.
it then, but now that I think about it, yeah.
Oh, it was bad. If you rewatch it and you listen for it, it's rough. Quote, "He's a sexual pervert." Quote.
Quote.
It's just classic 80s raunchy films with the dude watching the girl in the shower. Comical. This Glazer fella has some real repressed feelings. He's a maximum bully. I don't know what this kid's problem is. And then you get the old dreaded triple moon. All three of those boys drop trow and give him the old moon after shooting him with the little BB gun.
Pea shooter.
Another excellent nugget of dialogue. "That's the world jerk-off champ right there." Quote. The mask that the guy, like the older guy, is wearing when he pops out of the campfire when they're telling a story looks like the Jason without the hockey mask, like the deformed Jason look. Over halfway through, and there's only been one killing so far, and it's been the hooker. Skinny dipping scene is classic 80s camp horror. First camper death was pretty weak in my opinion. I don't know what you guys thought about that, but you build up for half the movie to wait, and I was expecting some really gory something, and it was just kind of meh. How many 96 jerseys does George have? Every scene he's got a different one on, and they were all like different colors. Holy shit, the line I wrote. I thought the girl's body was going to be in that canoe. And then when he popped out, it was a straight up massacre. That was one of the best
Potentially
scenes in
the
film,
best
I
scene,
think.
in my opinion.
Curious to Aaron's comments regarding the effects, because overall, so far, they've been underwhelming to me, and the blood looks super orange.
Savini trait from that era, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. What the fuck do you need matches for? There's already a fire. Just grab a stick and light it on. Like, this guy's, like, digging around looking for matches, and he's like, there's a roaring fire right beside you. A fucking flamethrower. That caught me off guard. I wrote, what a twist. Todd was one of the kids that burned him. No one could have possibly seen that coming. The bigger mystery to me is where the fuck did they get a worm-infested human skull in the first place for this prank? The face reveal, he looks very twisted. I said, oh, that's lame. An axe to the back, and that's how they kill him off. And then he popped back up, and I said, okay, the axe to the head to finish him off, and then light him on fire. That's fitting. And I wrote, for fuck's sake, the whole thing was just a camp story. And those are my notes.
Was it just a camp story? Or was it being told later by somebody
Who knows?
else? What a twist!
What a twist!
Yeah, you got some good points in there. I found that a lot of the effects work in this, and we'll get to this when Aaron talks about it, was pretty decent. Like the actual stabs and the hatch, like the actual axe hits and shit like this, pretty good. It was definitely typical Savini colored blood from that era. It very, very, very bright pigmentation in the blood. Definitely in that way. But I was a little bit down with the ending too, just the way that, like, I expected more from the fucking flamethrower.
Yeah.
Like, he comes in and I was like, okay, that's pretty badass. A burned to shit guy coming in with a flamethrower, be like, I'm gonna fucking burn your ass. You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna look like me, bitch. Like, and then all of a sudden it's like nothing.
And then it's called, and yeah, I had something and then I forgot it. I got really excited there to say it,
and then Adam wouldn't shut up.
I'm sorry.
But then again, you got to remind yourself that he's not supernatural. So yeah, you take an axe to the back, you're going down, I guess. But
that's true.
I just expected more of a fight.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey there, it's Deborah Voorhees from Friday the 13th, Part 5, and you are listening to They Cast from the Coast.
Aaron.
Yeah, to add to the whole blood thing, as I mentioned before in some of these podcasts, Tom Savini probably was up against a bunch of rating people too, so they base it on what kind of rating that they're looking for the movie. So that could have some play in that as well when it comes to the blood.
Bright non-blood
a lot of
blood.
Scenes that, yeah, a lot of the stuff that is shot that in like Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead, that kind of thing. A lot of scenes are darker as well, and they want the blood to show up and not be like a tar looking, So in order for it to show up a little bit, they lighten it up a little bit in some of the darker scenes. Did it work? It's a little light, and you mentioned that, Josh, that it did look a little bit like it was a little too orangey or whatever. I agree. So my notes are, first off, feels like Friday the 13th. Saw Cropsy's helmet at the beginning when he was burning. It's no big deal because that's a major stunt that goes on. Yeah. When he was rolling down the stuff. I did see the helmet. The character was, when he was burning and then rolled down the hill and stuff. But I mean, that's, you're pulling off a big stunt like that. You got to have protection and things. And it was early on when that kind of stunt was going on, and they were they were doing that kind of thing. So they were kind of playing around with making faces that could go over something and things like that. Well, in this case, he was actually wearing like a helmet. Fantastic burn makeup on the arm, Cropsy's arm in the hospital. I thought that looked pretty gory, pretty good. So Tom really kind of kicked that up. Obviously, Tom Savini did the makeup effects in this. Usually I talk about the people that are involved with the makeup and things. And Tom, being one of the best, he was the guy that took care of this. The soundtrack is very close to, I thought it was very close to Day of the Dead / Friday and Dawn of the Dead. It had pieces in there that I was like, whoa, this is trippy. And that's another reason why I kind of dove in a little bit more and forgot about my phone laying there and things like that. I was like, this is cool, man. I'm getting into this. I haven't seen like a good 80s hacker for a while. Like, this got my attention. I like it. I didn't mind either that the first kill happened so soon in the movie. And then the character, they're kind of building those guys up and giving you a feel for the whole camp. The hooker kill with the shears or the scissors was rough. I thought that was rough, and it was no issue with Tom. It was the actor that must have moved it around. And then if the director didn't catch that or the editor didn't catch it in post, you actually see shears pull away from the body and move, right? And that's one thing when you're trying to pull off an illusion like that. You want to make sure those are up against the body and they're not moving for the shot. If they are, you got to reshoot it. And they didn't in this case, which surprised me because I caught it like I didn't even have to pause. It was like, whoa, that was a big foul up right there, right? Like I said, it was probably nothing to do with Tom. He was probably off doing something else, getting ready for another scene or something like that, or maybe he was there. I don't know. But that was a little slip that I didn't think would have happened in this, but it did. Bless the 80s. I've got that down. The shower scene with Sally had different shots / angles, and I'm going to go back to my continuity stuff here. So in the shower scenes where she's in there and she's soaped up her hands, she's running her hands through her hair, she's rinsing her hair off, and then you can see alternate shots going on. So there's the gratuitous upper body shot of her in the shower, and she's got her, but she just rinsed it out. And then the next shot it's kind of rinsed out, and then the following shot is her hair's all soapy again. So I was like, what the heck? This looks like one of those TikTok videos, or putting shampoo. He's hiding up above, and the guy's trying to clean his hair on the beach. And
have you never watched an 80s horror movie before?
Right.
All women do is clean their hair and wash their boobs. It's like a flower, and they put shampoo in, and they go through like a bottle a night.
Oh, yeah. She definitely went through a bottle with that one. Holy crap. Look at all those shampoo. Great flow with these actors. I thought the flow was pretty good with the writing and things. I thought they were acting pretty good with the lines that they had. The Vitamin E dude's fanny pack is epic. That was a big fucking fanny
it's like
pack.
A backpack on his.
I thought he was going to be. I was like, that guy's going down first because of that fanny pack. He's going down.
Or maybe he's got something in the fanny pack to ward off fucking Cropsy.
Like a bat belt.
Baby. Eddie's a pushy horn dog. I got that written down here. Karen's death was hard to see, but it was good. So I watched it. I had the sun coming in on that scene on the TV, and I couldn't really see how she died. And you're right. That was kind of one of those scenes right out of the gate, right after the first kill. You got this long, drawn-out section, and then you have her getting killed in this dark sequence in the woods. I agree with Josh on that they should have had something more prominent in there to make this more,
you can barely see it.
Right? But it was kind of a dark... Yeah. Great effects with the raft kill scene. Looked like a lot of illusion tricks and latex rubber, especially on the forehead when... she pulls her head over after being hit. You can see the latex built up and the blood squirting or dripping out of the seam. The flesh tone on the stumps of the fingers, that was kind of a cool thing. I did notice that the fingers looked like they could have used a little more paint on the inside. That's just me, but I thought the effect was really good. I don't think anyone else would have realized that. Nice effect with Glazer's death by hanging by the shears. So there's a good example of having him hanging. You see the feet just dangling, and then the next shot is the shears up through his neck, right? And he's being held up by the murderer, right, by Cropsey. So I thought that was super cool, and they kept altering between those two camera views. So again, there's another really cool illusion by Tom Savini that, I mean, he made those things. He made these movies what they are for sure. Nice effect. Let's see here. Love the found raft scene where the body floats up. So the foam body floats up. That was creepy, right? It was painted up really nice, and it was painted well enough that it was really creepy when it came out. And I know if I was a kid and I saw that, I'd have been like, oh my gosh, I can't watch this, right? It kind of reminded me of the Jaws scene, the very first Jaws, where they go down diving into the boat and the head turns around. You see the face in the boat. Yeah, man, that creeped me up years ago, right? The mining carts seem to have reset after almost crushing Todd. So Todd was there. The mining cart comes down. He jumps out of the way and kind of was like stunned. And then after he gets up and walks around, he's on the exact same pathway, but the cart's back up. So I was like, what's going on? This is throwing me off. Well, I thought that cart already came down. Now, he could have been in a different part of the mine, I guess. Who knows? Cropsey's mask and makeup is awesome when it was first revealed. And I have an illusions book that has this makeup in it, and it took Tom 3 days to build this thing. So just think about that for a sec. You got 3 days to build this thing and have it
on
shot
screen
red
for like 2 seconds.
Right. But it was pretty cool. I really liked it. I thought it was awesome. So there's
I thought he should have been burned up more. Like he looked like deformed.
He did. Like he was.
I wanted to see him like scorched, gnarly.
Maybe if he worked on it for like a month and a half or something, it would have been.
Yeah, didn't work on it long enough.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty good, man. I thought it was pretty good. I don't know if the director threw something at him
it came.
Or what.
Well, the way I took it,
I was gonna say like it came across to me, not like a Freddy Krueger, burn. It came like a melted flesh. That distorted from it, you know what I mean? Like he was burning and he went into the water and it was like the distortion and the quick cool and like it was distorted. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, I love it. I loved it. I thought it was great. Did anybody else catch the camera guy in the helicopter when it landed? He was trying to hide the camera. You had the pilot, and then right next to him on this side, as the thing comes down, you can see him pulling the camera down in like this. Hilarious. Nice axe to the face on Cropsey. That's my last note. And then of course he's burning in the mine there, right? So yeah, I thought it was good. I like this film, my dudes.
I hated how Cropsey died though.
But did he die?
He looked dead.
Yeah, he died.
He was dead.
I wanted him to put up a big old fight and have like a beat down brawl.
But you never know.
Yeah.
I also thought it was weird that this burn. Now, I could be looking into it with the parallels that I felt with, Jason
Friday.
But, this guy was burned by Frank. You think there'd be some sort of like fear of fire or whatever, and in the end, he's got the fucking torch.
Nah, he's just pissed. He's like, yeah, we're gonna show you how it is to be burned. Don't worry about it.
You burn me, I'm gonna torch you.
Is that what you got from that scene?
Yeah, I saw him. He's like, yeah, the nurse playing in my background. The nurse telling him, don't feel bad, kids will be kids. And he's like, oh yeah, you'll fucking see.
Kids will be kids. Kids will be dead bitches. I'm gonna kill some kids. Yeah, no, I felt the same way with that one too. But I get the feeling like if they would have done something else, there was actually like some sort of like a long rumored Burning 2 that they wanted to do. And I just kind of felt that it could have gone like the way of Jason Voorhees, where he was some sort of like a spirit of vengeance that had kind of come back deformed, like Victor Crowley did eventually, and Jason Voorhees had too. I thought it would be pretty cool to have a Cropsey character that like maybe in the second one he has the fucking hatchet scar in his face and shit, and he's running around all deformed in the woods. That'd been pretty cool, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still something, like, in my opinion, if this movie really does have that much of a cult following, and it's something that, you know, like, could be, I'd even still want a fucking sequel to this day, like, make it better. You know?
I was pretty shocked to see the credit for Tom Savini there and nobody else for effects. But back then, they didn't really credit even the assistants or whatever. But they did credit Daryl Ferrucci. He was Tom's right-hand man for this. So there were at least two working on this, which is a pretty big feat when you see some of those effects.
They probably had a crew of like interns or whatever, and
They
just
probably did, yeah.
The director's
jabronis to
brother,
help.
all that shit.
Yeah. Uncredited, yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
I mean, no one's going to turn down working with Savini, even at that point in his career.
It's true.
Yeah, really.
So that means that it's time for Mr. Johnson. It is time for Trivia Time with Tim. Yeah.
Bow, bow, bow. There's a bunch of trivia for this, so
Cool.
after the last few episodes where there's been some lackluster trivia time, this come with the goods today,
Come with the
fellas.
goods. Bring
Come
it
with
on.
the goods.
About time.
All right, so Tom Savini turned down Friday the 13th Part 2 to work on this. Tom Savini was also particularly not happy with Cropsy's burn makeup, given he was only had 3 days. I had to look. I was like, did I hold up 3? The concept of the film, originally scripted as The Cropsy Maniac, is based on the campfire story told at summer camps in and around New Jersey and upstate New York. The story is still in circulation and is also the basis to the 2009 documentary Cropsy, though this film was not referenced in that documentary. So that's probably why I didn't know about it. The film's composer, Rick Wakeman, was originally offered a percentage of whatever profits the film made, but decided to opt out for a fee instead because he felt that this film had no chance of being successful. The film ended up being the highest grossing horror movie in Japan.
Really?
Yep.
I can see that, yeah.
To create Cropsy's distorted POV shots, the cinematographer rubbed Vaseline on the outside edges of the camera lenses. So simple,
Awesome. That's so awesome.
Vignetting.
So simple. This is one of the
It's
first...
a simple vignetting. Photographers use it all the time.
This is the term Adams used in previous episodes, but this film was one of the first movies to land on UK's Video Nasties list. I think Josh has also said it too. Specifically because of the infamous Raff Massacre.
That surprises me. This movie doesn't seem video nasty worthy.
I guess it was just an abundance of carnage within a short period of time probably struck.
Yeah.
The film's climax was shot at the ruins of an abandoned copper mine that the production team found.
Convenient.
Yeah, very convenient. In an interview for Total Film magazine, Holly Hunter had the following to say about her screen debut. And I quote, "Well, look, I got paid more than I could ever imagine for The Burning. I was making over $1,000 a week, which was incredible. I could make rent. I didn't have to wait tables for a while, and I got all these new friends. I was kind of a glorified extra. I got my Screen Actors Guild card too, so it was fantastic." And cool.
$1,000 a week back then? That was pretty good, actually.
That is, yeah.
This was the first film that launched the careers of Harvey Weinstein and Bob Weinstein. Their mother, Miriam Weinstein, was also a pre-production assistant on the film.
Okay.
I don't know if you know this, but Tom Savini would play classical music during long processes of creating plaster castings of the actors' faces.
Calm them down.
Mm-hmm. According to Tom Savini, it took 3 days to create Cropsy's. Why is it repeating itself? Stupid. According to the DVD documentary Blood and Fire Memories with Tom Savini from 2013, they were creative differences between the producers and the writer-director Tony Maylam and the special effects artist Tom Savini was actually asked to write and direct a new ending.
Oh.
This is George Costanza's Jason Alexander's first ever acting credit.
Wow.
Wow. The film's closing credits declared that this picture was filmed in Western New York. During the canoeing water fight scene, there were 5 canoes in use, but at the final shot of the scene, you can see a 6th one flipped over that led to the camera lens getting wet. Many people claim there was an early appearance by Lawrence Fishburne as a hospital orderly whose arm was grabbed by Cropsy's horrific burnt hand just before the opening title sequence.
That wasn't him.
No.
Cowboy Curtis.
You know, it was not Cowboy Curtis. I'm surprised that you went there instead of Morpheus, but yes, Cowboy Curtis. No, this actor was actually Mansoor Nuji Allah. I butchered that poor man's name. Special effects makeup artist Tom Savini did press publicly for this picture, so he went around.
You gotta ask yourself, why would Tom not do Friday
Part
13th Part 2 and go to this one, right? I know that if I was a producer and everything, I'd be like, yeah, we must have something going on within our script that he really likes in order for him to bypass that.
It's probably just convenient. He's probably just in New York already. He's like, I don't want to go to L.A. and film this garbage.
I'm going to do a New York movie that's almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
That'd be good. Ask him.
The names of the 2 summer camps were Blackfoot and Stonewater. I don't know if you knew this, fellas, people of the internet, but it's Tom Savini who swings the axe that kills Cropsy in the film's conclusion.
Ah.
Which
He's
makes
like,
sense.
I built this prosthetic and I don't want one of you fucking idiots ruining it.
Oh,
we
you
gotta
see that?
reshoot it.
You see that so many times. I remember watching a lot of Walking Dead behind the scenes, and yeah, they would be the zombie. The special effects guys would be the zombies that bit certain areas and shit like that because they
don't trust the fucking actors. They're gonna ruin it.
No.
Well, that and by this point, he's had a lot of experience with reverse shooting those kind of shots, right? Where the machete is embedded into the head, or or the axe is done. He knows exactly how to flail the axe to make it look real when they put it in forward motion, right? Yeah.
For Glazer's murder scene, Larry Joshua pushed himself upward on 2 boards being carried by grips to make it appear that Cropsy raises him off the ground.
Simply ineffective.
Yes. And during Todd's climactic chase at the end of the film, when he discovers Karen's body in the abandoned building, during filming, she wasn't even present, or was even supposed to be. Later, during the editing process, it was decided to add her body in a freeze frame from her death scene. So,
it did a good job.
And I'm going to end it with the body count was 10.
Damn!
And that, friends and people of the internet, was
Trivia time with Tim.
I propose on future trivia times with Tim, he makes at least one trivia point up right out of the air, and then after the end, we get to guess which one he made up.
Okay.
Challenge accepted,
Next
apparently.
episode.
Challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted.
Nice. All right, gentlemen, it is time for us to give our final thoughts on this movie and rate it. So I'm going to start with Mr. Lambert.
This, I'll be honest, this isn't the best 80s camp horror out there. There's a lot of competition, but it's solid. It's hold its own. There's some good gore and some okay gore. There's some amazing makeup effects. The big bad, you can take him or leave him. He's a fucking decrepit geriatric running around the woods with a pair of scissors. I don't know if that's your shtick, but his face reveal was cool, which is like the whole build-up of the film. You're waiting for it. It wasn't quite as gross as I was kind of hoping for, but at the end of the day, it had a lot of the classic camp horror aspects. It reminded me a lot of Sleepaway Camp, Friday the 13th, just that era of 80s camp horror movies. I think I'm going to slate it as a PG. With that being said, it's a very solid PG. It is a very solid film. And I'll probably watch it again.
Cool.
Tim!
This movie was better than I was expecting. I did a little reconnaissance before I watch movies now.
You don't trust me
And
at all.
to me, on very face value, it's what I've been saying the whole time, that it's a Friday the 13th ripoff. But really, that's more of a hindsight type of thing, because at that time, Part 2 was just coming out. So if you're basing it off the original Friday the 13th, there was no Jason in the original Friday the 13th. It was a little deformed kid, right? So really, you can't really compare it like that. I mean, and Friday the 13th Part 2 didn't even really look like the Jason that we've come to know, right? With the mask and the deformed face, right? So, I feel that it's just, it's kind of a rip-off, but not really. I felt that I ended up liking a lot of the characters more in this than Friday the 13th. But what really sold this movie for me was Tom Savini. You can't go wrong with early Tom Savini. 81, man. This is like peak fucking Savini. You know what I mean? Like even when you guys were talking about The Color of the Blood, no, that's Tom Savini. Like that's like
Yes.
Dawn of the Dead, like that ketchup looking,
A little bit foamy.
really like tomato fucking blood, right? Yes,
I love it.
I love that shit. I thought the kills in this were, for the time, pretty creative. I really dug the sheer scene, right? I liked it, didn't like it. Does that make sense? Like, I liked it, but it's not like the best thing I've ever seen. But I'm certainly happy that I watched it. I did find that I was looking at my phone for a little bit. Because, like Adam said earlier, with pacing issues, it's just like, you're not keeping my attention. But, like, when shit was good, shit was good. Like, the canoe shit was great. Oh, the canoe shit was great.
That was crazy.
I like Josh. I'm going to give this a solid PG.
PG. Solid. Aaron.
I'm coming in at this like I needed this slasher right now. That's how I'm coming at this. I long for movies that I hadn't seen before, and this was a gem in my opinion. I can't believe I hadn't seen this, for one. And when I sat down to watch this, right out of the gate, I'm like, no way. Like, this isn't ringing any bells with me. I haven't seen this. I long to see a movie like this today, but they've screwed them kind of up in a way with all of their, their oh, well, let's do this effect, let's do this, CG, let's do this, like, let's just get back down to the roots and have a killer out in the woods at this camp. Let's do it. Let's get it done, right? I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed it even more knowing that Tom Savini did the effects in this, because I grew up with that guy, and I'm going to give this an R, boys. I think that if anybody hadn't seen this and they're looking for something to watch that is reminiscent of Friday the 13th or the Freddy movies or whatever, that this is a little gem. If you haven't seen, crank it on, sit down with your family and watch it and have some fun, right? Big bowl of popcorn. You're definitely going to have some fun with this thing. I like the build up of everything. I loved just how it all. I liked how it all came together.
It's true. You mentioned something there. It's not often that you get the opportunity to kind of take an '80s time machine,
right?
And
that's how I felt.
Watch one of these '80s films that you've never seen before.
Well, right. Yeah, that's the key. Like a 1981 slasher movie by Tom Savini that I have not seen before.
Right.
It's
a rarity.
How many opportunities? Yeah,
very rare.
We don't get to do that. We don't get to do that,
and that's why I got to give it an R. That's why I have to give it an R, because that to me is like finding a gold nugget in the rough, man, and being like, holy shit, I haven't seen this. This is wicked. And I was like just strapped right at the TV. I didn't find any pacing issues or whatever because I was so locked into the boobs, to the way that things are being done. I'm like, yeah, this is sick. This is like, I feel like I'm back in the 80s. I look at all the stuff in the background, all the clothing, and I'm like, this is great. This is great, right? So, yeah, I'm going to give it an R, boys.
Awesome. All right.
To Tom.
Excellent. Mm-hmm. All right. Yes, it is very rare to find a movie like this, especially with the caliber of fucking Tom Savini that you've never truly witnessed. I came at this movie trying to picture it like it was a time in the 80s when this movie came out. Because when I sat down and I watched it, I realized there are a lot of people who truly love this movie. It's out on Blu-ray, multiple DVD releases. It comes out special editions. There's Mondo poster art all over the place for it. This movie has a good reputation in the horror community for good reason. And you got to think about it. How many of these movies that we truly like from the 80s do we admit to ourselves, it's kind of fucking corny, it's kind of cheesy, but I like it?
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So think about this for a second. We're going back at it going,
stop telling me to
think about this, things. Tim. Fucking think about it. If we go back and you look at it, imagine watching this movie in its heyday. Right?
Yeah.
I feel that anybody who kind of looks at this going, it's got its issues, right? It's okay. If you had grown up with this movie, there's a good possibility that it would have a longer standing effect on your love of horror than it currently does. And it would probably be something more along the lines of Sleepaway Camp and, Friday the 13th in your mind. Except for Josh. Josh never seen Sleepaway Camp way back when. We determined that. But it's the idea that there are people that this was their Friday the 13th when they were growing up. This is their, horror from the 80s that they grew with. And I take a look at it that way, and I think to myself, this covers all the aspects that I would have loved in a movie growing up. It had at least one really fucking badass scene in it, which was the canoe scene where he jumps out. I love when the guy gets the shear right there in the fucking throat. Very reminiscent of the Kevin Bacon Arrow fucking scene, only shears down through instead. I love what the guy gets his fucking fingers cut off and he's looking at the you know what I mean? Like it's fun shit. And here you get like, a mass amount of just fucking campers just get murdered. And, think about the idea that a lot of the time in these movies, it's not the kids that get murdered, it's the camp counselors that get murdered. And now we have a mixture of counselors and kids that are getting murdered in this movie. You know what I mean? So it does the dirty and kills the kids. It's kind of fun. It does the dirty.
Does the
You know?
dirty.
So I got to give it some.
Easy. It was Weinstein production.
It did the dirty.
Oh,
Weinstein.
yeah,
But
that's the only
it
downfall.
is the biggest downfall of this movie. Aside from the pacing issues, I will absolutely state that the pacing issues are probably the worst part of this movie for me. I feel if they put just a couple more beats in there with some extra murders and showed some more Cropsy scenes, I wanted some more scenes of his vision, kind of walking through the woods and stalking people and shit.
What was he doing through the woods? Do that again.
I did that so perfectly, apparently. Just,
the saunter coming
right.
through the woods.
That it would have probably helped the pacing issues, because I would have felt more that Cropsy was there. Because with the pacing issues, I didn't feel Cropsy was there. I just felt like we were being introduced to a summer camp of kids, and then all of a sudden he kind of appears in the window that time where he goes, "Ooh," and then backs up again. And it's like, oh yeah, Cropsy's here.
What did he do?
Ooh.
And then he saunters off. but that's if there was more showing that his presence was there, I think that the pacing issues would have been fixed. That being said, I think that this movie is a gold nugget, like Aaron said. It's a diamond in the rough. It is a classic gem. This is not going to be the last time I watch this movie by any means. I'll probably kick it off in another year or so just to say I watched it again and have a little bit of extra fun. I'm giving this movie an R. So
I feel like I would have enjoyed this movie more if I watched it in the summer. Is that weird?
No.
Like, it's like watching a Christmas movie at Christmas. Like, it means more, right? I'm not going to fucking watch National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation in August. Right? Like, I feel like...
This movie really... Friday the 13th is fantastic. Everybody loves Friday the 13th. But this movie, Josh brought up a good point, and Tim, you brought up a good point too. The characters in this and the writing in this were actually really fucking good. It kind of reminded me, one of my favorite summer camp movies, and the way that they actually wrote characters was Meatballs. This kind of seemed like the characters from Meatballs in a horror movie. And that kind of appeals to me. That's kind of a good way to look at it. So, yeah, you know what? Maybe like when summertime happens, I'll probably sit down and watch Sleepaway Camp, the Friday the 13th, and throw The Burning in there.
It's funny that you say. It's funny, like, because now I'm remembering the movie, and it's like, yeah, it obviously has parallels to Friday the 13th, but whoever said it, maybe Josh. Yeah, it's very Sleepaway Camp.
Very much so.
Very Sleepaway Camp.
Absolutely. They done the dirty. Okay. All right, gentlemen. It has been a great conversation tonight. We found ourselves a little nugget of joy from the 80s that we have not fully witnessed. I remember just barely watching this when I was young. I didn't really remember much of it except for just a couple of the deaths, like in the fucking throat with the shears. I think it was great, worth the time, and now it's a movie that'll probably play in rotation whenever it comes to summer camp massacres and murders, and that is all that matters. We find joy in the horror that we love. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and watching this episode with us, and check us out on Facebook, Misunderstood Art Company. Like, share, and subscribe. We're also on YouTube, where we produce this content weekly. Misunderstood Art Company. Like, share, and subscribe. We produce audio copies of this every week as well on all the major podcasting platforms, including, but not limited to, Amazon Music, Google Play, iTunes, Spotify, etc. We're also on Patreon. Open up your hearts and your wallets. Get Tim that shot of caffeine that he requires. And until next time, Josh?
This guy was so burned, he was overcooked. Big Mac. Overdone.
Mr. Peerless?
Cropsy is coming for ya.
You got really close.
He just sauntered in there.
Really close. Went, ooh, and then sauntered back.
Tim?
Stay safe and stay spooky.
Until next time. Keep it creepy, everybody.
Good night.